Lesson 1, Solar Eclipse. Before we're talking about solar eclipse, we must talk about sources of light. There are two sources of light, natural sources. The main source of light on Earth is sun, and artificial sources as candles and electric lamps. As we know, when a dark object gets in the way of sunlight, it blocks a part of sunlight, forming a shadow. Again, when a dark object gets in the way of sunlight, it blocks a part of sunlight and forming shadow. For this object, where the temperature in this shadow area is moderate. So, what is meant by shadow? Shadow is a darkened area which is formed when light falls on an opaque or dark object. Like these poles. When light falls on these poles block the light and form its shadow, like that. When we put the torch in front of my hand is an opaque object. My hand will block the lights of torch and form its shadow on the wall. Okay. As we know before, that Earth rotates around Sun in oval orbit, and Moon rotates around the Earth in oval orbit. At one moment of this rotation, moon comes between Sun and Earth. At one moment of this rotation, again, moon comes between Sun and Earth. So it will hide sunlight or block sunlight or eclipse sunlight and form its shadow on Earth. Again, as we know, Earth rotates around the Sun in oval orbit and the Moon rotates around Earth in oval orbit. In one moment or at one moment, Moon lies between Sun and Earth. And as we know that Moon is a dark body. Moon is a dark body. As we said, if a dark body faces sunlight, it will hide its light and cast or form its shadow on Earth. Okay? This phenomena is called solar eclipse. This phenomena is called solar eclipse. So, what is meant by solar eclipse? Solar eclipse is astronomical phenomena in which Sun, Moon, and Earth nearly on a straight line. It's a very important point here, and the Moon in the middle. So, what is meant by solar eclipse? Solar eclipse is astronomical phenomena. What is meant by astronomical means occur in space. So, it named by astronomical phenomena, in which Sun and Moon and Earth nearly on a straight line and the Moon in the middle. Sun, Moon, Earth nearly on a straight line and the Moon in the middle between Sun and Earth. When moon lies between sun and earth, as we said, it forms its shadow or casts its shadow on earth. How many shadow area moon will form? There are two types of shadow area. Number one, umbra or cone umbra. Umbra or cone umbra. Umbra or cone umbra, it is a dark inner shadow. Area in which total solar eclipse appear. Penumbra, it is a faint outer shadow area in which partial solar eclipse appear. We can understand more when we explain on this picture. As we said, solar eclipse, it's astronomical phenomena when moon lies between sun and earth, nearly on a straight line. In this case, moon will hide the sunlight and form its shadow. When it forms its shadow on earth, it forms two types of shadow, umbra and penumbra. What is meant by umbra? Umbra is the darkened inner shadow. As we see, darkened inner shadow, this darkened area, darkened inner shadow is called umbra. In this area, a type of solar eclipse occurs, and we will explain after that, called total solar eclipse. Penumbra is the fainter this area, and this area around umbra fainter than this. As we see, this is a dark area, but this and this area are fainter shadow. This outer fainter shadow called penumbra. So, how many types of shadow area? Two. Umbra, what is meant by umbra? Darkened inner shadow, in which total solar eclipse occur. What is meant by penumbra? Penumbra is the outer fainter shadow, in which partial solar eclipse occur. The solar eclipse phenomena happens or occur when sun and moon and earth nearly on a straight line with moon in the middle. It happens or can be seen in morning only. We can see solar eclipse in morning only. How can we observe solar eclipse in our life? We can see earth in the morning look like night. We are in the day. Normally we can see the day is upright, sun upright, but in this moment in solar eclipse we can see morning as night. Why? Because sun in this moment block the light of sun. This phenomena takes about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, nearly 7 minutes and 40 seconds. So we must know that solar eclipse occur or happen when sun, moon and earth nearly on a straight line and the moon in the middle. We can see or observe it in morning only, and we can see day as night. When in the day, but it's dark. Why? Because moon in this moment hides the sunlight. What is the duration of solar eclipse? It takes about 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay. After that, we must know types of solar eclipse. How many types of solar eclipse? 3. there are three types of solar eclipse: total solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse, and annular solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse, and annular solar eclipse. The first type we will talk about is total solar eclipse. In this type, we can see sun like that. The first information we must know in this type that total solar eclipse formed in the shadow area umbra, formed in the shadow area umbra of the moon. And how can we see sun in this type? We can't see sun completely in this type. Why? Because moon hides most of light of the sun. So we can't see sun completely, and we can see it like that. So the first type of solar eclipse is called total solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse. It formed in umbra shadow. It formed in umbra shadow. How can we see sun in this type? We can't see sun completely in this type. Okay. The second type is called partial solar eclipse. And we can see part of sun in this type. So it meant by or named by this name. Partial come from we can see part. Partial we can see part. So the second type of solar eclipse called partial solar eclipse, because in this type we can see part of the sun. It's formed in the semi-shadow area or penumbra of moon. And we can see a part of sun, and we can see the part of sun. Again, the second type of solar eclipse called partial solar eclipse. Types of solar eclipse happens due to the rotation of moon around Earth and Earth around sun. So the moon will move. At first type, total solar eclipse, it lies in the umbra shadow. When it moves and become in penumbra, it forms partial solar eclipse. It forms partial solar eclipse. So, partial solar eclipse formed in penumbra shadow. Partial solar eclipse formed in penumbra shadow. How can we see sun in this type? We can see a part of sun in this type. Okay? Okay. The third type of solar eclipse is called annular solar eclipse. Annular solar eclipse. And we can see sun in this type as a lighted ring, as we can see. It's a type of solar eclipse in which sun appears as a lighted ring. And it's formed when moon, it's a very important point here. Annular solar eclipse happens or occur when moon in a higher orbit from Earth. What is meant by moon with a higher orbit from Earth? It means moon is very far from Earth. In this case, moon can't cast its shadow on Earth, so it seems or look like lighted ring. To understand more, again, what is meant by antimbra? And this type of annular solar eclipse occurs in shadow area called antimbra. We said that this area or darkened inner area called umbra, and this fainter outer shadow penumbra. The umbra when moon comes in a higher orbit with Earth, become more far from Earth, forming an extension for umbra. This extension called antimbra shadow. Antimbra shadow. Sorry. Again. When moon becomes in a higher orbit, very long distance from Earth, it formed a third type of shadow called antimbra. This extension of shadow umbra called antimbra. In this area, there are the third type of solar eclipse occur or happen in it, called annular eclipse. So, the third type of solar eclipse called annular solar eclipse. A type of solar eclipse when sun appears in as a lighted ring and moon with a very higher orbit with Earth, very far from Earth, so it can't cast its shadow on Earth, and it happened in the antimbra shadow. Antimbra shadow. Again, this is umbra, this is penumbra, this is antimbra. Inside umbra, total eclipse appear. Inside penumbra, partial solar eclipse appear. Inside antimbra, annular solar eclipse appear. Okay. To differentiate between the three types, we must make a comparison. Types of solar eclipse. As we said, there are three types of solar eclipse: total solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse, and annular solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse, as we said, formed in umbra shadow. You must know two main points in each type. You must know two main points in each type. In which area this type is formed? Total solar eclipse formed in umbra shadow, darkened inner shadow of moon. The partial solar eclipse formed in penumbra or fainter outer shadow of the moon. Annular solar eclipse formed in antimbra area shadow of moon. When moon with a higher orbit from Earth or very far from Earth, so it can't cast its shadow on it. How can we see sun in these types? At the first type, total solar eclipse, we can't see sun completely. We can't see sun completely because moon is very near from the sun, so it hides most of its light. In partial solar eclipse, it's nearly in the middle between sun and Earth, so we can see part of sunlight. At the third type, moon in this type is very far from Earth, so sun appears as a lighted ring. Sun appears as a lighted ring. At the end, before we leave solar eclipse phenomena, we must know it's a very important event happen in all the world. And to observe it, we must take our safety precautions on observing it. The first precaution, we mustn't look directly at the sun. We mustn't look directly at the sun because it emits harmful radiation. As we know, sun emits some harmful radiation and other useful. In this case, or in ordinary days, we can't look directly to the sun. Why? Because it emits some harmful radiation as ultraviolet and infrared rays that affects the eye, retina, and may causes blindness with few minutes. So, the first safety precaution to observe solar eclipse. We mustn't look directly to the sun. We mustn't look directly to the sun. Why? Because it emits some harmful radiation as ultraviolet and infrared, and it may cause blindness for few minutes. Number 2, doctors advise us to use special glasses to observe the solar eclipse. Why? Because the outer corner or outer area of sun emits ultraviolet and infrared rays and affects passively in our eyes. So we must wear this glasses, special type of glasses, to observe solar eclipse. Thank you.